They said Amy Winehouse destroyed herself while cameras waited outside her house every morning, that she was chaos in human form, that nobody could have saved her because she never wanted to be saved. The documented record says something different, and almost nobody has told that version. She was 9 years old when it started, and what started then would later be blamed on something else entirely. Her parents divorced that year. By her own account, now stated directly to Rolling Stone in 2007, that was when the bulimia began. Her father confirmed the timeline. Her doctors knew, the people closest to her knew, when she became visibly thin and physically deteriorating after Back to Black made her the most famous singer on Earth. The press called it drugs. It was easier to sell that way. The condition she had carried since childhood, untreated, unaddressed, was invisible to every camera camped outside her house. Before the myth, there was a person, a guitarist, technically trained, seriously accomplished, whose musicianship disappeared almost entirely from her public image. She had played seriously since her teens. Engineers described someone who arrived at sessions with arrangements already formed in her head. Not a vocalist waiting to be directed, but a musician who knew exactly what she wanted. That person was never on the front page. A woman who made everyone in a room feel genuinely seen, who maintained friendships from her Southgate childhood long after she could have left them behind, who tipped strangers extravagantly, who sat with friends in crisis for hours, who kept journals, who wanted children, who talked about Dinah Washington like she was talking about a close relative. Her grandmother, Cynthia, was a jazz singer. She took a young Amy to jazz clubs before Amy was old enough to be there legally. She introduced her to Dinah Washington, to Sarah Vaughan, to the architecture of a vocal line built on restraint rather than volume. That education did not come from a school or a label. It came from one woman who recognized something in her granddaughter and decided to feed it. Cynthia died of cancer in 2006. The same year Back to Black was released. The same year everything accelerated. Amy did not speak about that loss publicly in any detail. The grief was not performed. It was carried in the music, in the silence around the music, in the record that became the defining document of her life. Nobody photographed that grief, but grief doesn't pause a machine already in motion. And what happened next was worse. But before that, if you've never seen this channel before, this is what we do. We take the icons everyone thinks they know and we show you who they actually were. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe, because there are more like it. In 2007, two things were happening at the same time. Back to Black was a global phenomenon. The label was pushing hard into the US market. The machine was running at full capacity. She had already been hospitalized. They sent her on tour anyway. The people responsible for her career had documentation of what was happening to her. The information was not ambiguous. The decision was made regardless. Amy paid the price alone. Dozens of photographers camped in Camden, tracking her movements in real time. Images of a woman in visible medical distress, barefoot, mascara running, eyes vacant, sold at premium rates and broadcast as entertainment. Her doctor was not photographed outside her house. Her manager was not photographed. Her label was not photographed. The woman who was suffering was the product, and everyone knew it. There is audio preserved in Asif Kapadia's documentary in which Amy states directly that she did not use crack cocaine before Blake Fielder Civil. The people around her at the time corroborate this. She met him in 2005. The relationship was volatile and, by multiple accounts, genuinely passionate. She wrote Back to Black about him. She tattooed his name on her body. They married in Miami in 2007, against the advice of everyone close to her. Everyone who knew her tried to stop it. Nobody could. The tabloid version is simple. Bad man. Weak woman. Predictable ending. The documented version is harder. Amy loved him. When the marriage ended in 2009, the damage went beyond the relationship itself. She had built a significant portion of her emotional life around it and had nothing adequate to replace it with. The people closest to her said she didn't stop loving him. She just had nowhere to put it. But this is the part that almost nobody reported. Her own account, on record in Kapadia's film, is that she was told entering rehabilitation would damage her career momentum. She did not enter serious residential treatment until 2008. The window had been open. They let it close. The success kept growing. She kept disappearing. We cover stories like this every week, the version of these lives that didn't make the official record. If you're not subscribed yet, now is a good time. The years between the divorce and Belgrade have received almost no serious attention. 2009 into 2010. Amy was sober for stretches. She was writing, she was talking to friends, to musicians she trusted, about what she wanted the next record to sound like. Not Back to Black again. Something quieter, a jazz vocal record stripped back, close to the music Cynthia had introduced her to. She spoke about it with specific detail. The names of songs she wanted to cover, opinions about how they should be arranged. She was also attempting to rebuild the ordinary structures of a life. Cooking, seeing friends, spending time in the neighborhood where she had grown up. People who saw her during these months described someone who was present in a way she hadn't been for years. Not recovered, not fixed, but trying in the specific and unglamorous way that recovery actually looks from the inside. After the divorce, Amy began a relationship with filmmaker Reg Travis. Stable, quiet. It produced almost no tabloid material, which is exactly why almost nobody covered it. The people around her described someone talking about children with a seriousness that suggested she had thought it through. Someone making plans, someone with a future she was actively constructing rather than simply surviving toward. Then came Belgrade, June 2011. She appeared on stage confused and unreachable. The crowd booed. The footage was everywhere within hours. The world watched Belgrade and thought they were seeing the end. They were actually watching someone who needed to be taken home. She cancelled the remaining dates. She went home. The people with her in those final weeks described something that looked, imperfectly and with setbacks, more like an attempt at recovery than the collapse the media had long predicted. She was quieter than she had been in years. She was cooking. She was calling old friends. The version of Amy Winehouse in those final weeks bore almost no resemblance to the one the cameras had spent 4 years documenting. She stopped drinking, and it was precisely because she stopped that her body could not survive what came next. After a period of abstinence, the body loses its tolerance. What it previously survived, it can no longer survive. She had tried to stop. She did stop. Then, once, she drank again. She was found at her home in Camden on July 23, 2011. She was 27 years old. She did not die the way the prevailing narrative had always implied, consumed by a habit she never tried to break. She died because she had tried. The eating disorder that started at 9. The guitarist the press forgot to mention. The woman who wanted children and talked about Dinah Washington like family. The final months, nobody followed. None of that was what they sold. What sold was the spectacle. Amy needed protection. Instead, they gave her cameras. It wasn't entertainment, it was abandonment. Be honest. Who abandoned Amy Winehouse first? The industry or the people watching?